Hey, Chase Craig here with Own Boise and Keller Williams Realty Boise, and today I'm going to be breaking down the market dynamics through the end of September 2021. And I know this video is way too long for most of you. You won't watch the whole thing, so here's the top 3 things we're going to learn in this video. Number 1, home values are up 27.5% year to date. Number 2, inventory only increased month over month, a modest 4.5%. And number 3, you're actually gonna have to stay tuned if you wanna know more about this, but I'm gonna be giving my predictions for 2022 and talking about the catalyst that will be really making the determination of where we go in the future. So if you wanna know more about that, watch the rest of this video. All right, so let's dive into our first subject we brought up in the intro, which is home values are up 27.5% year to date. Now, I just want to put some things into perspective. We ended 2020 in Ada County with the average sold price being $427,452. So that means if you owned a home at the end of 2020 and you haven't sold it yet, on average, you made $117,550 in just an equity and appreciation, which is just mind-blowing. I talked about, in a recent video on our channel, I talked about how you can refinance and do a strategic refinance to maybe consolidate your debt and lower your overall monthly payments, taking advantage of these low interest rate environment that we're in. So watch that video if you haven't seen it. We'll put it in the comments below so you can watch that. But the average sold price right now in Ada County is $545,000. Now, I'm an Idaho native, and I see these comments, whether it's on one of our advertisements we have on Facebook about buying a home in this market, or even on these videos, people say, sick, disgusting, locals can't afford to own here. And as an Idaho native, I have to say, I understand exactly what you're discussing. It is absolutely, I don't think anyone could have predicted the amount of growth we would have in this community. And so I hear you completely, and I'm not numb to it. We are definitely going to be needed to bring jobs to the area to support this long-term growth. And sometimes these larger booms in these cities, like if you think of major cities that they weren't a major city and then they became one, like a Salt Lake, or you could even say Denver, going back years and years and years ago. At some point, the growth just comes in, and the values just stay put. A lot of you are thinking, wow, 27.5% in 1 year, it's just going to crash. And while that's not off the table, it's a lot less likely when you have the kind of demand that we have with people who want to live here and want to be a part of this great community. So let's move on to the next one. Now, inventory was only up a modest 4.5% month over month. So we ended August with 850 homes on the market. We just ended September with 888. Now, why am I bringing that up? Well, it's important because we ended July with only 650 homes on the market. So to slow down that increase is actually very, very good in terms of having more of a balanced market and not having huge price fluctuations. So a slow increase in inventory is probably one of the best things you could want if you want to see appreciation normalize and value stabilize. So that's a really, really good thing. Obviously, we're going to be watching inventory very, very closely in the coming months, and that's one of the biggest factors in terms of where market values are going to go, up, down, all around. Now, I've said this before, and I think it's prudent to say it here. Timing the market is a fool's errand. Time in the market beats timing the market over time. It just always does. So no one knows exactly what's going to happen. And it's prudent for me to bring this up right now because I'm getting ready to go into predictions. And these are always fun and they've had some accuracy in the past. And I have to say no one knows what's going to happen, definitely not me. And I can see what our market is currently facing and what we should see in the future, barring any unforeseen catalysts or issues that we can't predict. Best time to buy is answer two questions. Can you afford it? And do you have a good enough reason? If you can afford it and you have a good enough reason, then go buy with confidence. Don't try and time the market. There hasn't been a 10-year period where the United States real estate market has actually lost value over a 10-year window. Hasn't happened yet. Very unlikely to happen in the future. Obviously, it could happen. But if you're in it for the long haul, just buy and live. You got to live somewhere. Paying rent and not building any equity or not paying down this asset, it's hard to argue that that's better than owning a home. A fun statistic for you, the average renter's net worth is around $5,000. The average homeowner's net worth is around $225,000. So there's a lot of value in the ability to own real estate. And since everyone's got to live somewhere, why not live in a place that you actually own and get to do all the fun stuff you want to do with? Okay, so moving into predictions. I'm going to be talking about the predictions for 2022 and the catalysts. I'm predicting 2022 to be not nearly as volatile to the upside, but I am predicting that we are going to see growth in terms of value. So I think inventory will slowly increase over the coming months, but demand will still be there. And because inventory is so low anyways, this 888 homes on the market, we go back 4 or 5 years ago, we had 2,500 homes on the market. So we got a long ways to go before we start to see, a flood of inventory. With the caveat that no one knows what they're talking about, no one can predict the future. I do believe with our inventory where it's at, we are going to see prices increase in the future. I don't think we can see them actually go down until we get more and more inventory. So that brings us to the catalyst. So I've given you my prediction, now it's up to the catalyst. So what is going to cause a major move in the real estate market? Well, real estate is local and it's also national too. So as big policy changes or as more macro events happen, like if we went to war, God forbid, or if the Fed changes their policy in terms of how they're going to be handling interest rates, these are macro events that will have an impact even on our local market. We still have plenty of people who want to move to this area, and we do not have enough homes for them. The last I checked, the vacancy rate on rentals is less than 1%. So you can predict in 2022, you're probably going to see rental rates increase because there's nowhere to live. And as people are fighting over those opportunities on where to live, you're going to see that they are going to be willing to pay more per month. So I do think rent increase will take place, hopefully not nearly as volatile as it did this year because we had massive increases on rents. Let's go into rates. So macro, the biggest thing I see is what happens to interest rates. As I stand here right now, a 30-year fixed rate, it's October 7th as I'm filming this, a 30-year fixed rate's around 3%. That's incredibly low. That means affordability to purchase homes is still very low. Even though prices are significantly higher than they were, let's say 10 or 15 years ago, the rates are actually so much lower that the affordability is not that much different. And we did a video on this a few months back, if you want to go find it, where we talked about the affordability of buying a home today versus 2006 or 7. And the monthly payment's actually very similar. And the amount of money that's used from the average income is very similar to what it was 10 or 15 years ago. So we are watching rates extremely closely. Now, as appreciation in real estate all across the country has gone up, obviously that affordability is key. So if we're going to expect to see, a lot more demand, we're going to need to see those rates stay low. Here's the very layman's term explanation for you. One of the biggest tools that our government has to help boost the economy is lowering interest rates. When they lower interest rate, It allows people to get more money into the economy for less. It costs less money, so they can get more money and put it into the economy. Well, since it's one of the only tools the government has to really stimulate the economy, they want the tool back. So their goal is to be able to raise interest rates as quickly as they possibly can, so in the future, if they have to stimulate the economy again, they can lower it. But when you're already down at the bottom, you don't have the tool anymore. So as soon as the economy is looking strong enough and healthy enough that it can handle interest rate increases, they're going to increase rates. So that's what we're looking for. What's going to happen over the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months with interest rates? Now, if it goes the other way and interest rates rise rapidly, you might see home prices actually decrease. So this is the biggest catalyst, in my opinion, for you to keep an eye on. The other catalysts are obviously inventory, and inventory is a very, very local thing when it comes to real estate. So if you're inquiring about Boise real estate right now, under $1 million, we still have less than 2 months inventory. So until we get to more of a balanced market, which is 5 to 7 months worth of inventory, you can expect pressure on pricing to be going upward. Once you get to that 5 to 7 months, usually you see pricing pretty much settle out. Over 7 months of inventory, we typically see pressure on pricing going down because it's more of a buyer's market. So inventory is something we're keeping an eye on. And one of the catalysts for inventory, you've probably heard, obviously foreclosures, but you have people that have gone into forbearance. And so they weren't able to make their payment for whatever reason. Now that forbearance period is gone and they have to come forward. I'm not as worried about the forbearance issue flooding inventory because most of these people have equity, as we mentioned at the very beginning of this video. A lot of people have equity, especially in our Boise market. I mean, the average homeowner in 2020 has made $120,000 almost this year. Most people who have owned a home made more money owning their home than they did with their job, which is crazy. So the likelihood of them having to fire sell their house is extremely low because they have equity and they're probably going to want to access that equity, so they're not going to want to give it away. And of course, what's going to happen to demand? Demand's a key piece. As our neighboring states, let's just pick on California for a second. As we see more and more people wanting to leave that state for whatever their reason might be, that's putting a lot of demand pressure on our local area. And most of these people, by the way, can take their job with them. That's something that didn't exist 10 years ago. 1 out of 5 people, maybe 1 out of 10 people could work from home. But today it's more like 3 or 4 out of 5 people can work from home because so much of their work can be done remotely. And a lot of these companies are saying, hey, work wherever you want. Well, when they live in California and they make a California wage and they bring that California wage here, they can support a higher purchase price. So these are all things we're taking into consideration. It's extremely complex, and I would be lying to you if I said I knew exactly how all of this fits into each other. It's just food for thought. I'd love to know your thoughts, in fact. If you'd comment below on what you think about anything we've been talking about today, I'd love to hear it. I'd also love to hear your prediction. What do you think happens to real estate pricing in the Boise area in 2022? Do you think it's going to stay flat? Think it's going to go up again or even more? Or do you think it's going to go down? I'd love to hear your thoughts and why. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Again, I'm Chase Craig with Own Boise. And if you ever have questions on the real estate market, whether you're looking to buy or sell, or even just curious, please reach out to us. We'd love the opportunity to help answer your questions and serve you in the real estate market. So thanks so much for watching this video. Have a great day.